Hey there, boys and girls. Today I'm going to be going back and killing Behemoth with Kuja. We need to use no more than 3 items to defeat Behemoth within 30 turns, LOL. And we need to beat him to limit burst. We'll be taking Esper's Kuja with us this time. Still the same party. I feel like this is pretty much my best party that I can use for this. I might go back and do something with Edward Elric and Fenrir Adele. I don't know yet. We'll see how things go. I changed up the party slots a little bit because we're going to be going through this so quickly with Kuja that the deaths will affect us differently, and I didn't want to, go through someone dying and getting them back into the fight and whatnot. So I put my first 2 death immune characters in slots 1 and 2, and then in slot 3, Dr. Aiden's wearing the Genji armor, which is 50% death resist. Hopefully that 50% is good enough for us, but if he dies, it's not really that big of a deal. It would just be, convenient. Cecil this time is geared with fire and holy resist. The reason for the holy resist is I'm equipping Ring of the Lucy now, so I can have better stats on my Kuja and friend Kuja. So there's a potential that holy damage could go out during this fight. Cecil would then need to immune that. It makes him a little bit more vulnerable. As you can see, he's got 18,000 hit points, 1200 spirit. Not the highest stats. He's full evasion with death immunity this time, so this is not a very easy build to do. It was just something I was experimenting with. I wanted to see if I could kind of pull it off, and I could with the gear that I had. But like I said, this is not atypical or really a realistic build. This is more of just a fun video. Vaughn's going to be our breaker and our passive provoke tank yet again. He's got Genji shield on for death immunity. Vaughn, I didn't do a good job using him in my first video. I used the wrong break with him. I used a 75% break when I could have been using an 80% break. Really, I didn't read the abilities, and I saw the break. It was up top, so I used it. We're going to be using his better breaks this time. And we're also going to be taking advantage of his fire imperil, which is what I really think separates Vaughn from other breakers in this game. The fact that he can put his imperils on every single turn with his breaks. Now, there is some RNG because we're only going to be breaking twice, because we're going to have to imperil every single turn with Vaughn, that the breaks could get resisted. So just keep that in mind if you're trying to do something similar. Dr. Aiden, he's still here for his triple cast white magic. I gave him the equip heavy armor so he could equip the Genji. Genji armor, like I said, for the 50% death immunity. Nothing really special with Dr. Aiden, just full evasion. Eurasia, probably geared the same way as she was before. Full evasion. The reason I'm using Eurasia is just to make this fight go by quicker, and also for her mitigations for Cecil. This is my Kuja. He's got 3k magic. I don't have an enchant on his STMR yet because Item World hasn't rolled around as of the recording of this video. I got Kuja on 2 tickets. Like, it was legit. The first ticket was like an on-banner 4-star, and then the second ticket was Kuja. I used a USC and then Moogled his STMR. Do you need to do that? No. If you've got Ace, you saw that Ace clears this trial just fine. Sinzar also did pretty much a budget video with Fenrir Adele. Cleared this trial just fine. You don't need Kuja. I like Kuja. And it just kind of rounds out more mages for me to use in Dark Visions. So, I got him. I was lucky. It is what it is. Esper set up a really nice Kuja as well. Full evasion. Geared up pretty much the same as mine. Lots of magic, lots of killers. Let's do the thing. I'll kind of be touching on Kuja's rotation a little bit. Optimally, he works best when he uses both fire and light damage. Since we can't imperil light every single turn like we can fire, we're just going to leave Kuja on a single element. It will make using him a little bit more tricky, because one of Kuja's things that he does is use his LB gauge to use one of his abilities. We want to try to get the LB gauge for him. He can do it himself if he's using 2 elements, though. So we'll do a fire imperil. Don't need to do that turn 1, but I'm just kind of setting up for repeat functions. Then we'll do a couple full breakdowns. That's the 80% break that I messed up on. Dr. Aiden will give us poison immunity, and we'll just put a re-raise up. I think that does re-raise. And then Eurasia is going to give magic mitigation for Cecil, and we'll give a stat buff for Cecil. Try to help him survive as good as we can. Into the Dark and a magic cover for Cecil. And then Kuja, we're going to do Overture Limit. This is going to fill your LB gauge for a couple of turns. It lets you use your powerful nuke. And Soul Splitter, that's going to be your big magic buff. And then Warfare is the ability that consumes your LB gauge to do damage. Overture, Soul Splitter and Warfare. Remember, we're staying on fire because Vaughn can imperil fire for us. We'll chain this off. I mean, 9% with one spell. I mean, Kuja is insane. As you can see, like, Cecil got rocked pretty hard right there. I'm not really sure which way is better to go about it, gearing with bulk and not full evasion, or, you know, full evasion. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that quite yet. So we're going to triple cast with Dr. Aiden. We'll dispel, we will heal, and we'll put a re-raise on Cecil. And then, like I said, this is the tricky part for Vaughn, because he has to imperil, and then he'll use 2 breaks. Hopefully those breaks land. You can check on that. I won't. We'll do Flare Symphony times 3, and then we'll jump down here and get a Warfare. 2, 3, and then a Warfare. With Eurasia, I'm going to double cast Beast Killer. Kuja inherently buffs his Demon Killer. It's 50%. Eurasia has 75%, but it's more important for me to get like 2 75% Beast Killer buffs over to Kuja instead of like a 25% increase using his or her Demon Killer. So we'll send Beast Killer over to both Kujas. We'll chain Kuja off, and then Cecil can just swap stance and magic cover. Now this is like some crazy damage. So we push the first threshold. That's what I was saying with Kuja. We're going to move through his fight so quickly. You know, I just don't want to recover from a unit dying and trying to re-res the unit. So like I said, I put Cecil in slot 1 with death immunity, so we can kind of just skip that. Alrighty, with Eurasia, we'll do Demon Killer on both our Kujas. And we're going to double cast Flare Symphony. Then we're going to do Igneous Zeal. I guess that's how you say that. And then a Warfare. This is where, like in Kuja's typical rotation, you would use both his cooldowns, but that's going to do both Holy and Fire damage. Like I said, I don't have a good Holy Imperil. Rarely available every single turn. I think it would be a damage loss for Kuja to try to imperil for himself. I don't know. I didn't really go that far as figuring it out. But the Zeal and the what was the other ability called? Angelic Advance. That's going to fill his LB gauge so he can continuously use like Warfare and Crusade. But like I said, we're going to try to get Eurasia to help us out with that. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling. We'll do Assault Strike so I can remove the buffs on the boss, and we'll just make sure our breaks are still on there. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to push this boss really hard on this turn, and I want to make sure that that he's broken, because we're going to be going like sub 50% right here, and I want to do everything I can do to keep Cecil alive. Already with Cecil, I want to use a defense, and well, no, I want to use Into the Dark and his magic mitigation cooldown. I just think this is the easiest way to keep Cecil alive, is to use like magic mitigation cooldown right here. It would be advisable to do that if you was doing this with Ace or another damage dealer as well, and then you want to try to get out of this threshold as quickly as possible. Like, you don't want to be here. Let's see here. We're going to do a heal, and then with Dr. Aiden, we're also going to use a Magus on Cecil to give him a 10,000 hit point barrier. Now we've done everything we can humanly possibly do to keep Cecil upright, because these meteors are really going to hurt. Vaughn got targeted for the death. He's also death immune, so we don't have to really worry about that. Now right here, if we can't get Kuja's LB filled up, we won't be able to use Warfare. We'll just quad cast his nukes. Let's see, let's triple cast with Dr. Aiden. We'll do a Dispel, we'll do a heal, and then a re-raise on Cecil. And then Cecil will do Into the Light. A couple of these. We'll do a Fire Imperil and a couple full breakdowns. Hopefully those buffs stick. and then Eurasia. We'll do anti-magic. The physical, because Cecil's evading, the physical doesn't matter, but this is going to like attempt to fill up the LB gauge. As you can see, I was a little bit short right there, so we're not able to cast Warfare. So instead, we'll just do Quad Flare Symphony. This is less damage, but it's still pretty good damage. If we was able to use both cooldowns in his typical rotation, we would have a limit burst gauge right there. Already 30%. Turn 5 is going to be, I think, a rebuff turn for Kuja. This is like the 3rd or 4th time that I've used him, so I'm not like a Kuja expert. Aiden's targeted for the death this turn. Hopefully he immunes it. It's not the end of the world that if he doesn't. The boss also dispels himself right here, so Aiden doesn't have to do that. Somebody else pointed that out in another video. To me, it really didn't matter because I didn't have nothing else going on with, you know, my units. All right, let's get a Fire Imperil and some breaks up. Let's see, Eurasia. Let's cast a buff for Cecil, and we'll do an LB fill. And let's see here with Kuja, I think. Yeah, we've got Soul Splitter available. Overture limits on a longer cooldown, so we can't quite do that. We'll do a Soul Splitter for the magic buff. We'll do a Solar Onslaught. We'll do a Zeal and a Warfare. Soul Splitter, Onslaught, Zeal, and a Warfare. Send this off. Nice. 16%. Alrighty, Cecil will go into the dark and give him, well, no, we already did a defense spirit buff. He can just do a magic cover. Eurasia buffed on that turn. Alrighty, hopefully Aiden survives right here just to make this like last a little bit easier. I could have saved like Vaughn's self-dispel for this and done it that way, but I had faith that the 50% dispel, or the 50% death would protect Aiden, so he's able to dispel this turn. Alrighty, let's dispel and then re-break the boss. Kuja doesn't have an LB gauge, and really, I doubt Eurasia would fill him up right here. We'll cast it though, and we'll see. Hey, she did. That's nice. Okay, cool. We'll do triple Flare Symphony, and then a Warfare. I'm pretty sure he would die regardless if we had Warfare or not, but this is more damage. Alright, we'll get Cecil's Limit Burst Race so we get all mission credit. Let this chain off a little bit. We'll go ahead and send Cecil so we get the hits into the overkill. Perfect. All missions. 6 turns. That's amazing. Like I said, Kuja will do better using dual element, but I didn't have the imperils available with this team, or really any team for that matter, on demand. Really take good advantage of that. And I did, like I said, I didn't test it with Kuja doing like an imperil for himself and whatnot. 6 turns was satisfactory to me just using one element, so that's how we went. If you guys pulled Kuja, maybe that's some insight on how to use him a little bit better. Hope you guys liked the video. Have a great rest of the week. Toodaloo.